Hello and welcome to this episode of our program in which we have a very special guest, Mr. Dmitry Kiselyov. He is the Director General of Rossiya Segodnya. He himself is a very famous Russian news anchor, and he also has interviewed Mr. President Vladimir Putin himself. Thank you very much, Mr. Kiselyov.
Thank you.
Welcome to Ethiopia.
Thank you very much.
Your first time in Ethiopia?
Yes.
Oh, so how is the experience so far?
Пока, если говорить, мне понравились очень.
So far, my experience here in Ethiopia has been perfect and great, and I have been struck and amazed by the beauty of the people here. There is one classic thinker who said that beauty is the best letter of recommendation for any person, and so far, these letters of recommendation of the Ethiopian people have been well above my expectation.
Да, и это говорит, что...
And this just tells you that we resonate, we are on the same vibe, if you allow me, in terms of our aesthetics. And this is a major factor that will probably help us build closer ties.
Но мы здесь по другому поводу, не для того, чтобы любоваться.
But we're here not just to admire the beauty of the Ethiopian people, we're here to open a representative office of our news agency, in fact, the biggest news agency of Russia.
И очень важно понять, что это такое. Это совершенно...
In fact, we're talking about a radical new format of working. This is not just about having a correspondent outpost in a country when you have just a bureau and a reporter sending back news to his editorial desk. We are opening an editorial hub with about 10 to 12 local journalists working in our office, and this way we will put all the capabilities we have in our agency behind this effort in order to be able to offer an effective alternative, a counterweight to the Western mainstream, and to make sure that Ethiopia gets unbiased and impartial news.
Для нас очень важно, что мы начинаем работать.
And it is very important for us, and one thing I wanted to emphasize is that we will be working in the Amharic language. In fact, we were launching the Telegram channel in Amharic language, and we have plans to launch radio broadcasting in Amharic as well. In fact, this is the 25th hub we have across the world of this kind, and this is the first editorial hub of this kind in non-Arab African countries.
У нас и в этом, собственно, отношении.
In fact, we have a lot of respect for Ethiopia, for its historical role, and for its commitment to freedom, to the fact that Ethiopia has always been a freedom-loving nation. In fact, Ethiopia has never been under colonial rule, while Russia, in turn, has never been a colonial power and has never engaged in transatlantic slave trade.
In that note, you know very well that Russia has been a very good supporter of Ethiopia throughout history. And in fact, this year marks the 27th anniversary of our diplomatic relations. So Russia has been a friend to Ethiopia in all weathers.
Абсолютно верно. Ну и даже есть
In fact, there is one fact that illustrates how deep the roots of our relations go. There has been a Russian hospital in Ethiopia since 1898, and the high delegation that I am part of, which is here and is headed by the Speaker of the Upper House of the Russian Federation, Valentina Matvienko, includes the Minister of Healthcare of the Russian Federation, Mr. Mikhail Murashko, and his goal here is to revive and to breathe new life into the work of this Russian hospital in Addis Ababa that has been here since 1898.
Кстати, Эфиопия может бесплатно.
In fact, there is one thing Ethiopia can do very easily to facilitate this process of breathing new life into this Russian hospital. This would be to accept Russian certified medical treatments and medical drugs so that they can be used in this hospital, maybe opening a pharmacy in this hospital, and why not offering market access to these treatments, because Russia has a lot of innovative and cheaper solutions compared to Western treatments, and this could greatly benefit by making this simple step of accepting Russian certifications. Ethiopia could greatly facilitate this process.
Да, и знаете, при всей симпатии друг к другу.
In fact, despite all the sympathy that we share between our nations, there is still some kind of distance that separates us to this day. Ethiopia has a population of over 130 million. Russia has a population of over 150 million people, but our trade is just $150 million a year, which is just so little in terms of compared to how good our relations are.
Это похоже на, если в спорте, как будто бы такой...
In fact, let me use first sports as a metaphor. You cannot fight a karate match without touching your partner. But this is what we're actually basically doing. We have a contactless karate between us, but we have to make this step, take this one step further and start actually touching each other. And recently, I pick up a copy of a Kama Sutra, the famous book, and there it is written that a man cannot win a woman just by words. You have to go further. So I also believe that we have to go further in a more sensitive way.
Following the outbreak of the war between Russia and Ukraine, the West blocked or banned all your medias. In fact, you have also been sanctioned. So it shows the danger of certain powers controlling the narrative. So how do you see the danger in this case?
Ну вот мы здесь, ну вот мы это и делаем фактически. Мы...
And in fact, that's why we are here. For quite a while, Russia has focused too much on Europe, and it had too much focus on the United States, and placed itself in a somewhat dependent position. This was a time of Euro-romanticism, as we called it, and even Vladimir Putin himself, he said that he has gone through this stage of viewing Europe and the West in this romantic way at the time, at the turn of the century. In 2002, he made a speech in German at the German Bundestag, and he said that the European integration is something that also belongs to us, that we can be part of this process. But then we went on to rethink this approach and to rethink our place in the world. And this is what prompted us to focus on building a multipolar world order. We did not lose, actually, this information war. In fact, we won it, and it is thanks to the fact that we preserved the links with the global majority that we have been able to do this. And the same goes for sanctions. We also won this sanctions war because despite all the thousands, over 10,000 sanctions that were imposed on the Russian economy, we have higher economic growth rates than the United States and higher economic growth rates than Europe.
Да, а нашим продуктом информационным...
And in fact, another big factor is the fact that Russia has been able to consolidate itself on the inside and to have this public consensus that enabled us to stand strong. The West wants Russia to fall apart, but we have been strong from within. Putin has an approval rating of over 80%. Where can you find an approval rating of this kind? Where can you find a society that is so much consolidated around its leader? Maybe Xi Jinping enjoys the similar level of popularity. So this was a major factor. We have been strong and consolidated within our country, and this is what we achieved as a media inside our country.
So you attribute this also to the media?
Ну, конечно, потому что журналистика...
Definitely, I believe that the media has a very important role in shaping the narrative and pointing the direction in terms of the reflection that goes on within the public opinion. We have to look inside us and to develop a vision and narrative that it resonates with the people, and that's what we've been able to do. We have many very professional journalists and a very strong school of journalism in Russia that serves this purpose.
И очень важно, что в России сейчас как никогда популярны ток-шоу.
In fact, in Russia right now, live political and analytical talk shows have been very popular lately with clashing opinions. So we're not afraid of having people set forth very different perspectives they have, and this is what contrasts Russia with Ukraine, for example, where they banned all alternative thought, where they have one TV network, where they closed a television network, when they ban any alternative views. And this is what sets us apart, that we have this freedom of opinion. Russia has been unrivaled as a champion of freedom of opinion and has a lot of freedom of opinion inside the country.
У нас вы можете сказать: я люблю Путина, я не люблю Путина, я люблю гомосексуалов.
In Russia you can say, I like Putin, I love Putin, I don't like Putin, I don't like Putin, I like homosexuals, or I don't like homosexuals. But imagine a person in the West saying that I don't like homosexuals and I like Putin. So this would mean professional suicide for a journalist.
Ну, я считаю, что мы сейчас совершили очень важный.
In fact, it is very important that we are here, and we're about to achieve a very important breakthrough by opening this editorial hub here. We will be working with Ethiopian journalists, and we will have to get used to learning from one another and sharing our expertise. So in this sense, this is a historical event we're experiencing right now in terms of promoting our cooperation. We have never seen any initiatives of this kind, but so we started with Ethiopia, our efforts in non-Arab African countries with the Amharic language, but we also have plans to work in Swahili and Hausa languages moving forward, and this will be just the first step. But Ethiopia will always remain as the main center of gravity in terms of these efforts.
Но Эфиопия останется нашей главной точкой опоры.
And we also have this practice of signing cooperation agreements with friendly media outlets, and we could, for example, think about signing a document of this kind with Fana news agency in order to exchange content and to explore other cooperation opportunities. Another thing that we could explore is having some kind of a content sharing agreement with the African Union headquarters, so that we can get priority content from the African Union about its operation, about Africa, and this would be very important for us, since and our presence here in Ethiopia also justifies this initiative. But there is one thing I wanted to add here. The fact is that Western media and the Western narrative, it works under stereotypes. So there's a stereotype that I'm homophobic. They've distorted my message about nuclear radioactive ash, because they present me as if someone who is dreaming about turning the United States into radioactive ash, while in fact I was talking about a retaliatory strike. Something that keeps the world from this disaster, from happening in the world. So this was basically an anti-war, a pacifist statement on my behalf. So here's the point I wanted to make.
И вот я хочу здесь добавить, что в отношении нашей деятельности здесь вы наверняка столкнетесь.
And in fact, you will probably face similar stereotypes in terms of how our presence here is treated in this Western narrative. They will be talking about, and you will probably hear that we're here to engage in some kind of subversive activity, to gather intelligence or what have you. But in fact, we are transparent in what we do. We have open doors. We have no hidden or secret agenda that pushes us to be here. What we're here for is a noble cause of doing journalism the right way and to be professional in what we do.
In fact, Africa has also been victimized. For the Western narrative, bad news is always good news. So we feel, the pressure that's being exerted on you. So in that note, studies show that the media, especially in the global South, they have a very minimal presence in the work. Their cooperation is also minimal. So in this fold, how is it your media group will be helping to at least enhance our presence?
Во-первых, мы уже здесь, но...
So the fact that we're here is already something that matters, and we will have reporters here who will bring information about Africa to the Russian audience. But in addition to this, and even maybe more importantly, we will be able to pass on this content and to share it in 32 languages around the world where we operate, and this will be a major contribution to making the African voice heard.
Because that's all we want, because maybe some 2 years before, you may have heard the Prime Minister speaking at the AU, the need for Africa to have a global media network so that we would be able to tell our stories using our own media. So yours media also be instrumental in this cause.
Мы же рассказываем друг о друге.
We can share information, and we can do so with love and respect for each other, and by being complementary. So we can greatly facilitate our economic, our bilateral, our cultural ties, and this is the way I see our roles.
Деятели культуры, Эфиопия, мы постараемся сделать Эфиопию ближе. А у меня, я в заключение расскажу историю.
So I can share a story with you. For a long time, I was friends with Viktor Yerofeev, a quite famous Russian liberal writer who wrote a lot about the unpleasant, the dirty side of the human spirit and not of living in Russia. And my mother, my 90-year-old mother, said, Viktor, Mr. Yerofeev, why do you keep writing about this, all this dirt and all this unpleasant sides of the human spirit? And he said, well, that's life, actually, how it is. And what do you think my mom replied to him? She said, well, you can have cow manure or you can have a rose. They are both about life. But look at the beauty of the rose. And why not focus on the beauty of the flower? And this is what we will do. We will explore the positive side, the brighter side of what we have in Ethiopia, what we have in general in our relations, and leave it to others to focus on the manure. So just to emphasize that point, others will show you the dirty side. We will focus on the positive agenda.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you
for your time.